Welcome to The Explainer. Now, we all know that innovation created the internet. But have you ever stopped to think about how the internet is now creating a whole new kind of innovation? Today, we're diving into a framework that completely rethinks how progress happens in the digital age.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll kick things off with a core problem, a real blind spot in our thinking. Then we'll look at the old toolkit we used to use, see what changed with the digital platform, introduce a new cyclical model, and wrap up with why this is so critical for anyone making decisions today. Let's jump in.
And this is the central question right here. You see, back in 2006, a researcher named Ping Lan pointed out this major gap in our understanding, an asymmetry, as he called it, that we absolutely need to solve if we want to navigate this modern world.
Okay, so let's dig into this idea of an asymmetry. What does that actually mean? Well, it's all about the difference between the force innovation pushes out onto the world versus the force this new digital world now pushes back onto innovation itself.
And this quote just nails it. We are experts at seeing what innovation does, right? We see the new products, the new industries it creates, but we often completely miss how our digital world is fundamentally rewiring the very process of innovation itself. It's changing the rules of the game.
To really get why this is such a big deal, we've got to look at the old maps we used to use, the traditional ways we tried to categorize and make sense of innovation, and you'll see pretty quickly why they just don't work anymore.
First up, you've got the classic showdown, radical versus incremental. A radical innovation is a huge leap, like the very first microchip. It changes everything. Incremental innovation, on the other hand, is all about those steady improvements that make that chip a little faster, a little smaller, year after year.
Next, there's the split between product and process innovation. This one's pretty straightforward. Are you creating a brand new thing, like the first iPhone? Or are you figuring out a better way to make or deliver something, like Henry Ford's assembly line?
We also used to slice it this way: architectural versus modular. An architectural innovation is when you rearrange the whole system, linking old parts in a totally new way. A modular one is much simpler. You're just swapping out one component for a better one, like upgrading the stereo in your car without changing the car itself.
And of course, the big one, the one everybody talks about, disruptive versus sustainable. Is your innovation completely upending an industry, the way Netflix did to Blockbuster? Or is it sustaining the current market leaders by just making their existing products even better?
But here's the catch with all of these pairs. They put innovation into these neat, separate little boxes. The problem? The real world is messy. These models are disconnected, and they completely fail to capture the fluid, interconnected way things actually work in the internet age.
So what broke these old models? What was the game changer? Well, the argument is that it was the arrival of an incredibly powerful new force, what the paper calls the digital platform.
Now, this platform is built on three technological foundations, all working together. First, you have the technology to digitize information, to turn everything into ones and zeros. Second, you've got the networking technology, the pipes that connect everything and everyone. And third, you have authoring tools, which let us build all the websites, apps, and virtual experiences.
And when you combine those three technologies, they unleash three incredibly powerful new forces. Virtuality, which breaks the old limits of physical space. Intelligence, which allows for automated, flexible operations. And interconnectivity, which just shrinks the globe and completely redefines what a company even looks like.
Okay, so we've established this totally new context. It makes sense that we need a new map, right? And that's exactly what the paper proposes, a new integrated framework that moves us away from those old static boxes and into a dynamic cycle.
So instead of thinking about separate types of innovation, I want you to picture a continuous feedback loop. It's a cycle where innovation builds and changes the platform, and then that more powerful platform turns around and shapes the next wave of innovation. It's self-reinforcing.
So how does this cycle work? Well, it all starts with the push. These are the innovations that create and modify the digital platform itself. Think about things like 5G or new cloud computing tech. They're not just products. They're actively making the whole platform bigger, faster, and more capable for everyone. Then, the platform pulls back, and this is huge. It starts to act like a powerful market selection force, creating massive incentives that pull other innovations in a specific direction. You know, the existence of the App Store powerfully pulled millions of developers toward making mobile apps. The platform itself creates the gravity.
All this pushing and pulling forces a paradigm shift. The old way of doing things, like hiding your best ideas away in a secret R&D lab, It just doesn't work anymore. To survive, you have to adapt to a new world of open, collaborative, networked innovation. Think open source. Think crowdfunding. Innovation has become a team sport.
And that brings us to the final stage, integration. To win in this new era, innovation can't be some siloed department down the hall. It has to be completely woven into the DNA of the entire organization. From strategy to marketing to operations, it has to be everywhere.
Okay, that's the theory. But what does this new cycle actually mean for business leaders, for people making decisions every single day? This is where the framework stops being an interesting idea and becomes a really powerful tool for action.
And this slide right here is where the rubber meets the road. It translates those big features of the new paradigm directly into management action. Because the environment is open and virtual, you have to stop thinking about just selling products and start providing whole solutions. Because the practices are distributed, you have to integrate innovation everywhere. And that integration has to happen on 3 distinct levels.
To make this really concrete, effective integration happens on 3 levels. First, function integration, breaking down the wall between your tech people and your business people. Second, process integration, blurring the lines between your internal teams and your external partners. And third, and this one is fascinating, capacity integration, breaking down the barrier between someone's day job and their hobbies, their side projects, their outside expertise.
And that leaves us with a final, pretty challenging thought. This framework isn't just an academic model. It's a mirror. It forces us all to ask a tough question. Is our organization's approach to innovation built for the industrial age, for those old disconnected boxes? Or is it truly built for the new, integrated, dynamic cycle of the internet age?